Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So I am finally getting a chance to film one of my favorite videos of the month, and that is my new releases video. So these are going to be all of the new releases that I found coming out in the month of May. And I think I say this in every video, this is by no means like an extensive list, but it is just ones that caught my eye, and wow, May has some amazing books that are coming out, and I think a lot of them are going to be very highly anticipated for a lot of people. So per usual, I'm going to split it up into the different like main release dates that are going to happen in May, which are typically Tuesdays. Now that isn't to say that there aren't other books coming out on other days, because sometimes indie publishers will do other things, but those are the days that I'm going to stick with. So our very first date is May 6th, and this day is stacked. So got my computer over here per usual, and let's just go ahead and take a look at these. So the very first one is Parents Weekend, and this is by Alex Finlay. Now I should probably look how it's actually pronounced, but I have read I think everything that he has written prior to this, and I believe I have this one on NetGalley. But this is Parents Weekend, if I didn't say that already. And this says, and I'm gonna try to keep these short and sweet, I know I say that every time, but it says, in the glow of their children's exciting first year of college at a small private school in Northern California, 5 families plan on a night of dinner and cocktails for the opening festivities of Parents Weekend, which is probably like something pretty common, I feel like, in the US. As the parents stay out way past their bedtimes, their kids, 5 residents of Capsey Hall, never show up at dinner. So it looks like, they're going to, have to look into this. It says multiple points of view, past and present. Loved that. And we have a return of Special Agent Sarah Keller from Every Last Fear and The Night Shift, 2 of his former books. It is going to explore the weight of expectation, family dysfunction, and those exhilarating first days we all remember in the dorms when our friends become our family. So I cannot wait to pick that one up. Probably should have picked it up sooner, but I digress. After that, we have a new book from Ashley Flowers, and this is The Missing Half. It says 2 women haunted by their sister's unsolved disappearance band together, and it's going to be a very captivating mystery. I believe Ashley Flowers wrote All Good People Here. I have that one on my Kindle, I just haven't read it yet. Shocker, I know. But we have a 24-year-old living alone in Indiana. She just got a DUI and she's in a dead-end job. Let's see. But her older sister vanished without a trace. And so she wants nothing more to move on from her sister's disappearance. But it looks like, somebody walks into her life that she hasn't seen in a long time, and it's going to be the tale of 2 sisters that will do anything to find their missing halves, even if it means destroying everything they've ever known. So, very curious about that one. After that, another one that I am sure a lot of people are looking forward to, and that is The Tenant by Freida McFadden. I love good Freida McFadden around here. She is one of my favorite popcorn thriller authors, and this says, the tagline is, "There's no place like home," which is then ironic because the cover is red. But it says Blake Porter is riding high until he's not, fired abruptly from his job as VP of marketing and unable to make the mortgage payments on the new brownstone he shares with his fiance. He's desperate to make ends meet. And then he's going to rent out a room to this, mysterious female. Sounds perfect, right? And it says, danger lives right at home, and by the time Blake realizes it, it'll be far too late. The trap is already set. So, when it comes to thrillers, and I say this every time, I don't want to know too much, but it's almost a guarantee that I'll pick this one up because I love me some Freida. Oh, another one that I am super looking forward to, and I think it's fairly hyped out there, is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I have read at least the last 2 books I think she's put out, because they usually come out, somewhere around summer. And this one looks like it could be the same. I love this cover. And it says it's going to be a radiant escape to the lake, which it makes sense because I feel like a lot of her other ones have been, surrounded around some sort of like summertime theme. And let's see. Tagline is, I never anticipated Charlie Florek. It says, good things happen by the lake. And that's what Alice's grandmother says, and it's true. Let's see. So kind of like she's reminiscing on some summers that she spent with her grandmother. She is a photographer, and it looks like she took a guy's picture, this Charlie, his photo from afar, but I'm thinking they're going to connect, again at some point here, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like I said, short, sweet, and to the point. All right, another book that I found while I was doing my research, and I don't think I've ever read anything by this author, but I've heard the name a lot, and this is What Happens in Amsterdam by Rachel Lynn Solomon. And it says, falling in love with your husband is anything but convenient. Now, I will warn, this one does say it's going to be steamy, so if that is not your thing, just know that. And this first sentence got me. It says, Danny Dorfman has somehow made it to her 30s without knowing what she wants to do with her life. I think maybe some of us have felt that way before. And it says, so when an office romance ends poorly and gets her fired, she applies for a job in Amsterdam, dreaming of escaping the mess she's created, but never imagining she'd actually get it. So, but she does, and I think we're going to see, what comes from that. So, steamy romance, there you go. After that, another one that I know a lot of people are talking about, and this author is hit or miss for me, but that is Frederick Bachman, and this is called My Friends. Let's see. It says it's going to be an unforgettably funny, deeply moving tale of 4 teenagers whose friendship creates a bond so powerful that it changes a complete stranger's life 25 years later. Now, that premise does catch my eye. Like I said, I really liked Beartown. Other things for me have been hit and miss. I didn't like his short story that he came out with this year, but that tagline catches my eye. So yeah, that could be one that I attempt to pick up. I'm trying to be better about picking things up from my library, so maybe I'll even put that one on hold. All right, after that, I believe this one is more along the lines of a historical fiction, and this is My Name is Amelia Del Valle, or Valle? I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, but this is by Isabel Allende. I believe they've wrote a couple different things before, but this is going to be about a young writer's journey to South America to uncover the truth about her father and herself. And I think when I was looking into this one, that was, part of the reason it caught my eye. We may have, actually it's a far off historical timeline, 1866. So kind of going from San Francisco to South America. And it says it's going to be a riveting tale of self-discovery and love. So, and it's going to introduce a character who will never let hold of your heart. So there is that one. After that, we have a book, the 3rd book in a series. And now I have read both of the other books in this series, and this is more on the YA side of things, but this one is called The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. And this is by Adam Silvera. Now, the first book in the series is, they both die at the end? Yes, they both die at the end, and then the second one was the first to die at the end. Now, I don't want to look too much into the third one because I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't read the first 2, but the first one is basically, we have a story of a couple different teens, I believe they're mostly teens, and you either get a text or a call, I can't remember, basically on the day you're going to die. And then there's been this app created so people can connect if, their death day is there. And you go through the process of, how are you going to live that day, knowing how it's going to end, but you don't know where, you don't know when, you don't know how long you have. And so such an interesting concept. I know a teacher friend of mine and I had talked about it, and it's one of those YAs where you have to make sure your audience is ready for that kind of content, but I am very excited to pick up the 3rd one. All right, then I have another YA thriller, of course, because they always catch my eye, and that is The Thrashers by Julie Soto. This is based on an elite friend group at New Helvetica High, and they're called The Thrashers. It says they're everything that everyone wants to be, and they're rich, sophisticated, and love attention, but it says an eerie messages and strange occurrences escalate. It becomes clear, somebody who wanted to be part of their group, is going to come back at them, basically. So lots of unforgettable drama and suspense. So it's my kind of YA thriller for sure. All right, after that, one that I believe is in the horror category is The Manor of Dreams, and this is by Christina Lee, so it says it's going to be beautiful, eerie, and woven with enough intrigue to hold all who enter captive. Okay. They're bringing characters to life and hauntings. Interesting. It says it's Mexican Gothic meets The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And it's going to be about the secrets that lie in wait in the crumbling mansion of a former Hollywood starlet and the intertwined fates of the two Chinese American families fighting to inherit it. Sounds very interesting. So that's that one. Another, I believe this one is YA. Let me just see. Did I grab? I just grabbed the wrong link. There we go. This one is Up in Smoke, and this is by Nick Brooks. It says it's going to be a dynamic and heart-pounding thriller. High stakes, tender love story. Let's see. It's a girl determined to clear her brother's name, a boy determined to keep his out of the line of fire, a secret smoldering between them, and it's going to be an edge-of-your-seat mystery. The reason this one caught my eye is it said for fans of Karen McManus. I love Karen McManus books and The Hate U Give, which I think is a phenomenal YA book. So I definitely had to add that one to the list. And then last but certainly not least of books that I found coming out on May 6th is Murderland, and this is by, I believe it's Carolyn Greenwald. This one caught my eye because of the cover, because it looks like, amusement park carnival-y. And I loved, it was Wonderland by Jennifer Hillier, which is ironic because Jen at the Bookish Blonde just read that. But it says, Murderland opens tonight. Not everyone will survive. Buckle up for a thriller that will have you on the edge of your seat. This one also states it's perfect for fans of Karen McManus and Holly Jackson, both of which have wrote series that I really like. So don't want to know too much going into this one, but that is another YA thriller if you are so interested. So those are all the books that I found coming out on May 6th. All right, our next release date in May is May 13th. And this is, once again, a date that has a ton of great, things coming out on it. So our first of which is Main Characters, spelled like the state. And there's been a lot of buzz around this one, and I'm pretty sure this is a buzzword that is going to catch my attention. And this says, it is a love letter to lake life. And it's the Parent Trap for adults. And I think that's what caught my attention because I was like, oh my gosh, if this is a camp theme, I am all down. And it says it's the story of two half-sisters who meet for the first time at their father's cabin in Maine after his unexpected death. So maybe not necessarily camp, but the scene, that I'm thinking. And this one reminds me of an Allie Brady book that two half-sisters had to fix up his beach house. So I think I'm really gonna like this one. I don't want to know too much, but it does say every summer these two sisters spent a month with their father at his lake house, but it was separately. And I'm wondering if they didn't know about each other. So, and it does say this is for fans of Carly Fortune and Ellen Hildebrand. So, two authors that I really like. And it says it's going to be set on a lush lake, and there is a lot of undeniable heart, depth, and charm, and humor included. So, can't wait to be able to pick up that one. After that is a sequel to a book that I read, I believe, last year, and this is No One Was Supposed to Die at This Wedding. This is the number 2 in the Vacation Mystery series by Catherine Mack. So the first one, let me just remember the title of that one. Every time I go on vacation, Somebody Dies, which was a book based on an author that had written this like famous series, cozy mystery series, and had like dated a guy, and then she put the guy in the book. Well, then they broke up. And this guy kind of like won't get out of her life. They're all on like a book tour vacation with a bunch of fans, and people start dying. So it's very similar to, some of the mysteries that she wrote. And I enjoyed it for the most part. And so this will be book 2. I don't want to say too much about it just in case you haven't read it, but I will be making sure to link it below. So there's that one. After that, we have a book by an author that I feel like I've talked about before, but I don't think I've read anything. And that is Dying to Meet You, and this is by Serena Bowen. And it says it's going to be a twisty psychological thriller. Love, love, love psychological thrillers. And it's going to probe how well we actually know the men in our lives. Wasn't that an interesting question? It looks like we have a woman named Rowan who is a single mother and a talented architect, and she is commissioned to restoring a historic mansion for the most powerful family in Maine. But she herself is actually a mess, and let's see, and it looks like she like stalks her ex. So not a great thing. But he ends up getting murdered, and she is the primary suspect. So I don't want to know too much more than that. It'll be linked below. All right, another book that I've heard a lot of people talking about, and that is The Man Made of Smoke, and this is by Alex North. Now, I believe I've only read one Alex North book, but I remember liking it. I'm pretty sure that was The Whisper Man. So this says it should be, creeping people out. It says it is the latest gripping serial killer thriller. So from Alex North, which I'm almost positive that's what The Whisper Man was too. It's been a while since I've read that one. And so it says this is going to be emotional, introspective, and utterly terrifying. It is a story of fathers and sons, shadows and secrets, and the fight we all face to escape the trauma of the past. So it looks like somebody has witnessed a crime as a child, and like escaped the serial killer, and has dedicated his life to becoming a criminal profiler and seeking justice for victims. But he kind of like returns to his past after his father dies, and is it possible that things are happening all over again? So that one could be one I add to my list. And granted, these are all on my interested list. I just can't guarantee like I will actually get to all of these or purchase them or anything like that. So all right, another very, very looked forward to author, and another one that I would consider, more of a popcorny thriller type, author, and that is 1 in 4, and this is by Lucinda Berry. Now, I have not read Lucinda Berry to zero, but I certainly would love to try. But this one says it's going to be a reality TV show about former child stars overcoming addiction, and it is going to end in murder. And it says their therapist must take a closer look into their lives and her own. So interesting. So this, therapist has decided to do a reality show, but I think it's going to, take her down an interesting path. And she's in a house full of narcissists, where everybody wants the spotlight. And it says, as she hunts a killer in her present, the unsettling truths of her past are forced to come to light, but she'll need to face her demons head on. So I'm wondering if this is like a and then there were none kind of trope, but I guess we will find out when that one comes out. All right, after that, we have Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. Now, I've heard a lot about Kennedy Ryan. I have not read one of her books before, but this is book 3 in the Skyland series, so I don't want to say too much. Book 1 is Before I Let Go, and book 2 is This Could Be Us. I know I talked about This Could Be Us when that came out. It must have been last year, but it looks like book 1, so I don't spoil too much, is... let's see. I want to say it was about a couple that get divorced, but then kind of decide to work on it and be back together, especially for the sake of their kids. So correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, this is not one that I have read, but the third book is coming out in May. All right. After that, we have What If It's You? And this is by Jilly Gagnon. I believe kind of, a little bit of romance. It says, everybody wonders about the one that got away. And thanks to an alternate reality tech project, one woman will get the chance to actually find out. Ooh, so it looks like she's going to do some like time jumping and see, what her life would be like if things had gone differently. So very interesting take on a romance. We get a little bit of tech, a little bit of romance. So there is that one. All right, then we have 32 Days in May, and this is by, I believe it was, yes, Betty Carello. I love this cover. I am sure everyone is gonna know why I picked it. And she must set a lot of her rom-coms on the Jersey Shore, because it says return to the Jersey Shore in this new romance, in which a young woman is recently diagnosed with lupus, and she's attempting a no-strings fling with a former television star. So interesting. Let's see. Looks like they're gonna have undeniable chemistry. Ooh, and we are traveling in this book from Jersey Shore to Rome. I'm assuming Rome, Italy. And it's going to be funny, beautifully honest, and it's an exploration of love, intimacy, and vulnerability while living with a chronic illness. So I think that's a great way to get some representation in books. So after that, we have Speak to Me of Home, and this is by Janine Cummins, Cummins, I believe. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But this, I love this cover, beautiful again. It says, what does it mean to call a place home? I think that's a fantastic question. So I believe we're starting in San Juan, Puerto Rico in 1968 at a wedding. And let's see. But their family eventually moves and starts over in the American Midwest. And it says, unleashing a fleet of disappointments. Oh, the poor Midwest. Then we might have some 1980s timelines in St. Louis, Missouri. And then we have some of the family members of the previous timelines returning to San Juan, where this person, her mother, and her grandmother begin to truly reflect on the choices that have come to define their lives. So, following around a hurricane in 2023, so this is going to be the examination of marriage, family, and identity. So it's a story of mothers and daughters, and it will ask the question, how can three women who share geography and genetics have such wildly different ideas of where they come from? So that story, I'm curious about that one. And now that I think about it, this author, if I'm remembering right, yes, so she wrote American Dirt, which I really, really enjoyed. But I also put the disclaimer in that you have to take it for the work of fiction that it is, because there was a lot of like negative press around that book. So I'll be curious about this one. Like I said, I liked the writing of the former one, but I'll be curious if this isn't, an authentic voice story, how people will feel about it. So there's that one. And then last but certainly not least of books I found coming out on May 13th, we have A Curse Carved in Bone. This is book 2 in the saga of the Unfated, which book 1 was A Fate Inked in Blood, and this is by Danielle L. Jensen. Now, I have not read this book. As most of you know, I'm not a huge fantasy reader, but I know this book was super popular. I think it was a book of the month choice, the first one being that is. I remember seeing it in Barnes & Noble because it had this beautiful like turquoise end pages, and I was like, I kind of want it just for that, even though I don't need it because I'm not a fantasy reader. But I know this is book 2, so I don't want to say too much about it, especially if it'll spoil it for anybody. But it says book 1 was a shield maiden blessed by the gods battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king while fighting for her growing desire for his fiery son. So yeah, let us know if that is definitely something that you are looking forward to pick up. But those were all the books that I found coming out on May 13th. All right, our next release date in May is May 20th. Now this one is pretty short and sweet compared to the rest of the days in May. So just a couple titles to talk about here, but no less important. So our first Witch of Being is The Girls of Good Fortune, and this is by Christina McMorris, which I believe she's quite the popular historical fiction. And this one says, oh yeah, she wrote Sold on a Monday. It is going to shine light on shocking events surrounding Portland's dark history in this gripping novel of love, lore, and betrayal. So I don't know too much about Portland. I've never been to like the Pacific Southwest. So yeah, it says she came from a lineage known for good fortune by those who don't know the whole story. So we might be set in Oregon in 1888. Let's see. I just want to make sure. I don't believe it's going to be multiple timelines, but it's going to be a tale of resilience and hope, and it's going to explore the complexity of family and identity, the importance of stories that echo through generations, and the power of strength found beneath the surface. You know, all set on this like Pacific Northwest timeline. And I'm also seeing, as I kind of look through here, it looks like there could be, you know, some like racial issues discussed. So being white passing, it sounds like anti-Chinese sentiments, and things happening like that. So that one is coming out on the 20th. After that, we have The Love Haters, and this is by Catherine Center. I believe I also have this one on NetGalley, and maybe I'll actually get to it before the release date. But I feel like so many people love a good Catherine Center book, and all of the, you know, different, basically what I would categorize as a rom-com. And this one, oh, it comes with sprayed edges on Amazon. Love that. But it says it's a thin line between love and love hating. And it's going to be laugh out loud, all the feels rom-com. And let's see. It says swim lessons, helicopter flights, conga lines, drinking contests, hurricanes, and stolen kisses ensue, along with chances to tell the truth, to face old fears, and to truly be brave at last. So I am sure we have, you know, some not necessarily quirky characters, but some interesting characters that are going to eventually come together, like all Catherine Center books do. But I always like to see, you know, what ride she's going to take us on. After that, we have The Last Fairy Out, and this is by Andrea Bartz. Now, I know I have books by Andrea Bartz on my shelf back here, but I don't think I've read them yet. But this one says, on a trip to the tropical paradise where her fiance died, a young woman begins to suspect that death was no accident. And the killer's still on the island. So it says it's going to be a twisty thriller. And it says paradise hides a deadly secret. So with my thrillers, I don't like to know too much, but you got me at Tropical Paradise. I won't lie. Tropical Paradise and a thriller, it's kind of a way to, you know, grab my attention. So there is that one. And then the final book that I found coming out on May 20th is Our Last Wild Days, and this is by Anna Bailey. So it is going to be an atmospheric novel about a young woman who searches for answers after her estranged friend is found dead in the bayou of their rural Louisiana hometown. And that's why it caught my eye. I kind of love, you know, that southern setting. I feel like, was it one of Ashley Winstead's books had, you know, a similar setting? So I think that's why it caught my eye. And, you know, we've got a family living in a shack out in the swamps. They make a living by hunting alligators and other animals. Reminds me, I used to watch Swamp People on the History Channel with my dad. But the people that live in this community, you know, consider these people troublemakers and outcasts and, you know, the kind of people that you actually don't want around. So I'll be curious on where this one goes, but it says it's an atmospheric, smoldering suspense about our darker impulses and how to set things up right. So, super curious, but I guess we'll have to wait till May 20th to find out. But those are all the books that I found coming out on May 20th. All right, our last release date for May is May 27th. And once again, some great titles here. The first of which is the Martha, goodness, you can tell I've been talking a little bit. The Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club. Caught my eye, two of my favorite things in that title, and this is by Martha Hall Kelly. Now, Martha Hall Kelly wrote the Lilac Girl series, which I really, really liked. And those three books were all connected by kind of like the same family, but not set in the same time periods. Really, really love. So this one I'm definitely looking forward to. And it says it's going to be two sisters living on Martha's Vineyard during World War II find hope in the power of storytelling when they start a wartime book club for women. So yeah, it caught my eye already by the author and everything, but it says this is quoted to be a dreamy book that also sizzles with tension. So, ooh, and I'm believing that we're going to get multiple timelines because we have a 2016 timeline where we have a woman that's grieving the death of her mother and she's traveling to Martha's Vineyard. I'm assuming probably looking for some answers, take a vacation, and she's shocking to learn, how this island relates to her. And then we also have a 1942 timeline based on what looks to be the Smith girls. So they're 19 and 16, and I believe they're going to be the ones setting up the book club. So I don't want to know too much more, but this one is definitely going to be on my list of want to read. After that, we have a book by an author that I've, for the most part, enjoyed all of the books that I've been able to read from them, and that is It's a Love Story, and this is by Annabelle. I believe it's Monaghan, but I've heard her last name also pronounced other ways. So this is a novel about a former adolescent TV actress turned Hollywood producer whose fake it till you make it mantra sets her on a crash course with her past, forcing her to spend a week on Long Island with the last man she thinks might make her believe in love. I like the premise of that one. Now, I believe I've read two Annabelle Monaghan's before. The first one I really liked, and then the second one, which, of course, I can't recall the name of the title. Oh, I loved Same Time Next Summer. I was about summer romance, more so because I think it was just written for an audience that's not me. I'm not a divorced mother of three, but I am definitely looking forward to this one coming out on the 27th. Another mystery thriller that we've got coming out on the 27th is Whispers of Dead Girls by Marley Bush. Now, I started a book by Marley Bush and I have yet to finish it. It is one of those that I started, I think I was listening to the audio, and then life happens. So, and I want to say that was last year, so I need to pick this one back up. But Whispers of Death says, and it's for fans of Lisa Jewell and Mary Kubica. The tagline says, "She's right. It can never happen again. She won't let it." So we have, let's see. We have a woman that after 10 years, she is back at square one and accepted a job at her old high school. She's hoping to make peace with the past, but now she's thrust back into it. Her murdered teenage sister is still immortalized in town, and she can't stop seeing her everywhere. Then she's meeting a former teacher who's handsome and charismatic, but she doesn't trust him. And so she becomes more and more suspicious, it looks like, and, curious about a relationship that a closeness he has with a student. And so it says, this time Ren will do what she must to save her, even if it means revealing her own darkest secrets. So we shall find out when that one comes out on the 27th. All right, next up then, we have a debut. I love finding a good debut. And this is Tell Them You Lied. And this is by Laura Leffler. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. And it says this is going to be two New York artists' tumultuous friendship gets turned on its head when one of them goes missing and the other may be to blame. It says this is going to be for fans of Bunny, Luckiest Girl Alive, and Who is the Bad Art Friend? Never heard of that one. So it says, let's see, alternating between the two friends' art school tenure and their lives in 2001 in New York, Tell Them You Lied reveals how difficult the search for answers is when you'd rather have anything but the truth. Sounds good. And like I said, I love finding a good debut book, especially if it's one that sounds like we'll want to keep following their story. So after that, another one that caught me by the title, and this is The Busybody Book Club, and this is by Freya Sampson. And it says they can't even agree on what to read, so how are they going to solve a murder? Now, I believe this one is going to be more like cozy, but I feel this. Sometimes it is really difficult to decide on books for your book club. So they are trying to find somebody, they're trying to solve a murder, they're also trying to recover stolen money, but each character has their own secrets to protect. Go figure. But they don't want to rest until they've cracked the case and gotten everyone safe at home with a book where they belong. So don't want to read too much more into that one, but just sounded cute and cozy and one I wanted to add to the list. After that, we have another book that I think a lot of people are probably looking forward to. Now, this is not an author that I really jive with, but that means nothing because books are for everybody and everyone can have their own taste. And this is Problematic Summer Romance, and this is by Allie Hazelwood. So, like I said, I think this one is probably very, very anticipated, but it says, what is wrong meets what feels right in this romance set in Italy. So, more of the romance, although I think all of Allie Hazelwood's books are romance. I think she just kind of veers whether they're, I think she wrote a paranormal romance, she's got some STEM romance, so I'm not sure where this one will exactly fall. But it says, not everything is as it seems. Cliches sometimes become plot twists. Let's see. We have a 23-year-old still trying to figure out her life, and then we have a 38-year-old, what I believe is the male main character, and our female main character can't stop thinking about him. So, and she said it may sound cliche, but it also makes her heart implode, older men and younger women. Oh, so I don't want to read too much more into it, but as always, I'll have this link below if you want to check it out. After that, we have another book that caught me by the name and caught me by the cover, and this is Beach House Rules, and this is by Christy Woodson Harvey. Once again, another author that I have not read a lot from, but have always added to my list because they catch my attention. And this is going to be a new novel about a mother-daughter duo learning to lean on their community of women and each other after their world is turned upside down. So it looks like husband/father is arrested and they get locked out of their house by the FBI. And they have to be in the spotlight of, it looks like a Instagram/social media influencer. It's an anonymous Instagram account. That's a lot to deal with. And, you know, they don't have access to any of their bank accounts and they're desperate. So they take up an offer to stay at a beachfront house of a friend. And it is going to go from there. It looks like it's going to be set in North Carolina. It says it's perfect for fans of Ellen Hildebrand and Jennifer Weiner. But it's going to explore the joy of friendship and the true meaning of family and reclaiming the power to reshape your own destiny. So that would be why that one for sure caught my eye. And then last, but certainly not least, one that I am sure lots of people are anticipating is Never Flinch, and this is by Stephen King. I still have yet to read anything by Stephen King. I know, but it looks like this is going to be a book with intertwining storylines, one about a killer on a diabolical revenge mission, and another about a vigilante targeting a feminist celebrity speaker. So, and it looks like this is part of the Holly Gibney universe, and also featuring a dynamic new cast of characters. So don't want to read too much into it, but like I said, I am sure a lot of people are looking forward to that one. So those are all the books that I found coming out in the month of May completely. So lots of great new releases and things to look forward to. And like I said before, this is by no means an extensive list, just the ones that caught my eye as I was doing my research. So let us know, which one are you most looking forward to? Are there other releases that I missed that we should also note? Feel free to let us know in the comments below. If you don't have a book that you want to tell us about, feel free to just leave like a book emoji or the stack of books emoji to let me know you're here. You know, it always helps interacting with my videos and I so greatly appreciate it. So as always, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.